It's time for number 29 in my series of video game movie reviews. And this time we're looking at something a little different and going all anime in this bitch. Even though this series is decidedly Western and never had much of a following in Japan. Oh well. Halo Legends is brought to us by 7 different Japanese animation directors that are all overseen by 343 Industries creative director Frank O'Connor. Much like the Animatrix that came before it was to the Matrix, Halo Legends is to the Halo universe. Halo Legends is an anime anthology series telling stories within the Halo universe that aren't necessarily part of the mainline story. This is 7 different directors telling 7 different stories with 7 very different artistic styles. We have everything ranging from a 2-part history lesson in the Halo universe all the way up to a more conventional tale involving our main protagonist of the series, the Master Chief. But it's everything in between where things get pretty interesting. This movie came out around the time that we would have been getting the big budget Peter Jackson produced, Neil Blomkamp directed, major Hollywood studio backed Halo movie. Unfortunately, the studios couldn't get their shit together, so it all fell through, and what we got in lieu of that was Halo Legends. And while Halo Legends is a pretty damn good consolation prize, when compared to a studio big budget Peter Jackson produced, Neil Blomkamp directed Halo movie extravaganza, it's just kind of a letdown. Not the movie, but the fact that that's what we got instead of that. This movie looked like it was gonna be so fucking awesome. And that is kind of what Halo Legends had looming over its head during its release. So now, 10 years later, we can look at this movie without having all that looming over it. For the most part. I mean, I am still kind of sour about it all, but I'm learning to cope. Much like the aforementioned Animatrix, what we were all looking forward to in the lead up to this movie was the much marketed CG segment, The Package. Also, much like the Animatrix, when we did finally get to see this big budget CG segment, it was not the most interesting segment of the bunch. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a good action-packed, pretty to look at story within the universe. And it does include everyone's favorite protagonist, the Master Chief. In fact, there's nothing wrong with any of the entries within Halo Legends. They're all pretty good. However, I will say your enjoyment could be very much dependent on how invested in the Halo universe you are. This movie is definitely made for fans of the Halo universe. It is not trying to convert naysayers. If you had an issue with Halo before this movie, this isn't going to change your mind. However, if you're a fan of the Halo series, you're definitely going to find something to enjoy here. And if you are someone who just doesn't have an opinion on it, who doesn't know much about Halo, this could possibly get you interested in that universe, especially if you're a fan of anime. All of the stories here are interesting, and they do a good job of telling their story in a small, compact amount of time. Some are better than others, but none are just bad. The 2-part episode Origin that gives us a compact history lesson in the Halo universe was the one that I found the least intriguing, but that's because this is all information I already knew. If you're new to this universe, this could possibly be very interesting to you because it's all new information. There's nothing wrong with it, it's just more of a retread of stuff that I already know. So this was the one that I found the least interesting. There's nothing wrong with the animation style or the way that they told the story. In fact, I thought they did a pretty good job of compiling a whole lot of information into a small amount of time. But it doesn't change the fact that it is information that I'm already very versed in. On the other end of this collection, we have The Package, the big high-budget CG section of the movie. This one also plays a lot into the mainline story of Halo. And as I said, this one is action-packed, it's bombastic, and it is pretty to look at. The story they're telling here does tie into the current mainline story as of the making of this movie. And while it is well made and pretty cool and nice to look at, it does overall come off looking like a high-end video game cutscene. Nothing wrong with that, it's still a good time, but it is what it is. The meat of this package is everything that comes in the middle. These stories in the middle are the ones that I feel like the directors had much more creative license, and we see a lot more deviation from the traditional style of Halo story. These are stories that for the most part do not include the mainline characters from the games. The 2 standouts would definitely be The Duel and Odd One Out. The Duel definitely has the most creative and eye-catching art style of any of the segments in this whole entire movie. It's very unique. It looks like a watercolor painting in motion, and I'm really surprised we haven't seen more of this really interesting looking animation animation since this movie came out. There are times that it's beautiful looking and it absolutely stands out from the crowd. But it's not just the animation. The story they're telling here is very mature and well told within a compact amount of time. The non-linear way in which they tell this story is extremely well done and sheds all new light in one of the most popular races within the Halo universe. The other standout would be Odd One Out. Now, while Odd One Out's animation style doesn't stand out nearly as much as the duels, its themes and storytelling are what truly let it shine. All the stories in this series are very serious and brooding and concern the future of the human race. Odd One Out takes a very light-hearted comedic approach and is extremely refreshing because of that. We follow Spartan 1337, who, much like the Master Chief, is a cybernetically enhanced Spartan super soldier. However, 1337 is apparently a bit accident prone. So after accidentally tripping and falling off the back of a spaceship and landing on a primitive planet, he's faced with dinosaurs, a roided out member of series antagonist The Covenant, and a group of caveman-like children. This one is decidedly goofy and wacky and very much in the vein of something like Dragon Ball Z, which is no surprise because it does come from the studio that created that series. It is ridiculous as it sounds, and if you're a fan of that type of animation and things like Dragon Ball Z, then you will be at home here. You're gonna have a good time with this one. And as I said, after all that seriousness and brooding all around it, this was a very refreshing take on a universe that I love. The other three stories involving young Spartans, some ODST hell jumpers, and just a bad motherfucking Marine are well-made, entertaining stories as well, but they don't quite stand out as much as these two. And overall, that's what this package is. Very solidly told stories. As I said earlier, this is not going to convert any naysayers of the Halo universe, but if you are a fan and already enjoy that lore, then you're going to find enjoyment here. And if you just don't know shit about any of it, then you might find something here to like as well. Performances as a whole are what you expect from anime. So dependent upon how you feel about anime and the performances you typically get from those will greatly impact your view of the performances here. And that is really the whole package. While yes, a Halo fan can find something to enjoy here, how non-fans feel about this package is greatly going to depend on how you feel about anime. If you have a dislike of anime, then Halo fan or not, chances are you're not going to be a fan of this movie. Guys, at the end of the day, Halo Legends is a solidly made anthology series. It is for fans through and through, and totally unashamed by that. So if you are a fan of Halo, or a fan of anime in general, then Halo Legends will definitely be worth a rent.
All he wanted was, hey, this.
I have to return some videotape.
These are some very solidly made short stories, and I think that most people will find some enjoyment here. However, as I said, that enjoyment is very contingent on whether or not you are a fan of the series or anime in general. But if so, check Halo Legends out, and I think you'll have a really good time with it. So there it is, guys, my review of Halo Legends. Still kind of salty about the movie, though. If you enjoyed and want more content like this, hit that subscribe button and help my little channel grow. If you liked what I had to say, give me a like. If not, let me know in the comments below why. And as always, stay sexy, Harvest! I enjoyed this movie, but I still hold out hope that one day we will get that live-action, big-budget Halo movie, because it could be so fucking awesome. Regardless if you like the game series or not, I don't think anyone can deny that Halo has deep lore on the levels of Star Wars. The movie that they could make could be fucking amazing. It could be the video game movie to fix the video game movie curse. Or it could end up sucking balls and putting the final nail in the coffin and everybody just fucking gives up on the whole entire genre. Unfortunately, that is a more likely scenario. Son of a bitch.